The Son of Man is going to be betrayed into the hands of men. They will kill him, and after 3 days he will rise." But they did not understand what he meant. How is that possible? He said it right there. There's no parable, there's no mystery. How is it that they didn't understand what he meant? Especially once he actually died. I understand Jesus said a lot of weird things in his parables. So maybe this was another one of his riddles where he was talking about something mysterious, like when he said he was going to destroy the temple. But once he actually died, how did they not put the pieces together? Some choose to imagine Mary as piously waiting for the resurrection on Holy Saturday. But the only thing we actually hear about is the disciples all hiding in the upper room. Why did they not realize that Jesus meant he was actually going to die after he actually died? Well, let's look at the very next words out of Jesus' mouth. "If anyone wants to be first, he must be the very last and the servant of all." He took a little child and had him stand among them. Taking him in his arms, he said to them, "Whoever welcomes one of these little children in my name welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me does not welcome me, but the one who sent me." This is what they didn't understand. The idea that to be great is to be humble, that the first shall be last. Because you have to understand, in their mind, Jesus was the great king of the Old Testament, this political leader who was going to symbolically and literally win a great victory over the world. The world in this case represented by the Roman Empire. Jesus was prophesied to overthrow the world, reunite the two sticks of Judah, Ephraim, and bring about a new age of uniting the whole world into God. He was this great, great king, the Son of Man, whose name was above all other names. And they could not imagine that figure being so humiliated by the Romans. This is what you have to understand. It's not that Jesus wasn't powerful enough to raise himself from the dead. It was that if he was so humiliated, he must not have been the Messiah after all. A good analogy is the Israelites with their temple during the Babylonian exile. The Israelites thought of their land and of the temple as being God in a way. He was the God of that temple and of that land. So for the Babylonians to come, conquer the temple, and drive them out of the land, it was almost symbolic of God being defeated by the world. They couldn't conceptualize God allowing something so terrible to happen. It was the most terrible thing any Jew could have thought of at the time. And yet, God, in his infinite wisdom, looked at that terrible event and he thought, that's the way. That is a more beautiful way. In our human seeing, we see not as God sees, but as man sees. And so we could never see that that is so beautiful. Because once they came back and the temple was restored and they were brought back into their holy land, they had a deeper faith in God and a deeper understanding of God. They understood he was the God of all places, that even though the temple was destroyed, God was not limited to the temple. Even in Babylon, he was with them and he was helping them and listening to them, and his plan the whole time was to bring them back in a more glorious way than before. This story is where we get the psalm that says, "Those who sow in tears shall reap rejoicing." The same thing is happening here. The death of the Son of God, the Son of Man, the Most High, the Messiah, that man being defeated by the Romans was a complete flip from what everyone thought of the Messiah at the time. Couldn't conceptualize a great king being so defeated, because that was God's plan. The Messiah was God's messenger, God's savior. How could God's Savior be defeated if God himself was not defeated? But once again, God looks at that terrible, terrible reality of the cross, and he sees that it is actually the best way to bring about goodness and redemption in our lives. God looks at the worst possible storm, and he says, will you walk out on the water with me? Will you have faith in me that this is still a more glorious way? That is the radical faith that God is calling every one of us to have, to walk out on him into the storm, no matter how dark it looks, no matter how much we cannot understand how this could be the way. He says, peace I leave to you, my peace I give you. Because if you're following me, you will have peace. Now, it might not be the plan that you had for yourself. You might have imagined yourself sailing across beautiful seas with a wind in your sails, whereas God is driving you, constantly pulling you into the storm. But God's plans for you are more great than you could possibly imagine. Well, all he asks of you is that you humbly accept a child in his name, and you will be called great in the kingdom of heaven.